The evening air was crisp as my wife, Elena, and I prepared to leave for dinner at our favorite local bistro, a cozy venue where we often met with friends. The golden hue of sunset filtered through the blinds, casting elongated shadows that seemed to dance around the living room. As I adjusted my tie in the mirror, Elena came downstairs, her heels clicking rhythmically against the hardwood floor. She looked stunning, as always, but tonight, something new caught my eye, a delicate silver necklace with an intricate pendant resting just above her collarbone. "You look beautiful, hun," I complimented, my gaze fixating on the necklace. "Thank you, love. It's a new piece. Do you like it?" She smiled, her fingers lightly tracing the outline of the pendant. "It's unique," I replied, still trying to place why the necklace seemed significant. We left shortly after, the question lingering in my mind. Upon arriving at the bistro, we were greeted warmly by our close-knit circle of friends, including my best friend, Alex. As we settled around the table, laughter and conversation flowed freely, yet I noticed Alex eyeing Elena's necklace with a peculiar intensity. Midway through the evening, he found a moment to pull me aside, his expression grave. Still trying to place why about Elena's necklace, he began hesitantly. "What about it?" I asked, puzzled by his concern. "I bought the exact same one last month, for our boss, for his mistress. It's a limited edition, should be numbered 378 out of 500. The evening air was crisp. My heart sank as the implications of his words washed over me. "Are you sure?" I managed to whisper, hoping for some mistake. "Quite sure. Saw the number myself. Maybe you should check Elena's, just to be sure." Nodding numbly, I returned to the table, my mind racing. The rest of the evening blurred into a series of stolen glances and whispered exchanges with Alex as we schemed to confirm the number on Elena's necklace. As the dinner drew to a close, I found an excuse to brush my fingers lightly across her neckline under the pretense of admiring the pendant, my eyes searching for the incriminating number. There it was, etched delicately on the back of the pendant, 378, 500. A cold shiver ran down my spine as the reality of her betrayal set in. The laughter and chatter around me seemed to fade into a distant echo. Elena, noticing my changed demeanor, leaned in with concern. "Is everything all right?" Forcing a smile, I nodded, "Just tired, I guess." On the drive home, the weight of silence hung between us. My mind was ablaze with betrayal and the ember of revenge began to smolder deep within me. I knew what I had to do. I couldn't just let this slide. No, Elena would have to understand the full extent of her actions. I wasn't going to divorce her, that would be too easy, too quick. I needed something more enduring, something that would match the depth of my pain. As we pulled into our driveway, the house looming in the darkness seemed to echo my resolve. Tonight marked the end of the life we knew, and the beginning of her unraveling. The morning after the dinner, Elena noticed the change in my demeanor but attributed it to stress from work. She left early for a yoga class, giving me the solitude I needed to plot my next move. I sat at the kitchen table, my coffee untouched, as I dialed Alex. "Heads up," I started without preamble, "I confirmed it last night. It's the same necklace." Alex sighed heavily on the other end. "Damn, Jack, I'm sorry. What's your plan?" "I'm not exactly sure yet, but I'm going to make sure she regrets this," I replied, a mix of anger and determination sharpening my voice. "Just don't do anything too rash," he cautioned. "Think it through." "I will. Can you dig up anything more on our boss and his arrangements?" I asked, hoping to leverage any information to my advantage. "I can try. I'll let you know what I find out," Alex promised before we ended the call. With Elena away for the morning, I ventured upstairs to our bedroom. My heart pounded as I approached her jewelry box, a pang of betrayal hitting me as I opened it to find the necklace, discarded carelessly atop other less significant pieces. I picked it up, examining the pendant, the number mocking me with its shiny etch. I needed more evidence, more leverage. Moving to her nightstand, I gently pulled open the drawer. It was mostly clutter, old receipts, unused gift cards, and pens. But beneath it all, I found a small, locked diary. My pulse quickened. She never mentioned having a diary. I pocketed it, deciding to find a way to open it without her noticing. Later that afternoon, after a silent lunch where we exchanged trivial conversation, Elena left again, this time for a supposed meeting with a friend. I took the opportunity to visit a locksmith under the guise of needing a new set of keys. The locksmith, a middle-aged man with keen eyes, didn't question why I needed the diary unlocked. Within minutes, he handed it back to me, now open. Back in the car, I flipped through the pages. It was worse than I feared. Not only was Elena involved with someone else, but there were details of their meetings, coded messages I assumed were between them, and worse, indications that this wasn't just a fling, but something deeper, more emotional. Fueled by a newfound rage, I drove to Alex's office. I needed an ally, and he was it. We huddled in his cubicle, poring over the diary entries. We need to catch them together. Get photographic evidence, I suggested, the words tasting bitter in my mouth. I know a guy. Private investigator. Not cheap, but discreet and effective, Alex offered, pulling out his phone to arrange it. As I left his office, a plan began to form. I wasn't just going to expose her, I was going to dismantle her world, piece by piece. Her reputation, her relationships, her peace of mind, everything was fair game now. The drive home was a blur, my mind occupied with thoughts of retribution. The stage was set, and I was going to make sure the curtain fell hard on Elena's deceitful play. The private investigator, a sharp-eyed man named Tom, met with me the following morning at a coffee shop away from our usual neighborhood haunts. His presence was nondescript, exactly what you'd want for discreet work. Mr. Reynolds, Alex briefed me on the situation. You're looking to obtain concrete evidence of your wife's infidelity? Tom's voice was low, blending into the hum of morning chatter. Yes, I confirmed, sliding an envelope containing photos of Elena and details about her regular haunts across the table. I want photos, videos, whatever you can get that proves she's cheating. Tom nodded, slipping the envelope into his coat. I'll start tracking her movements today. You'll have your evidence soon, he assured me, his confidence unsettling yet comforting in its promise. The next few days were agonizing. Elena's routine didn't change, and she seemed oblivious to the tightening net. Each evening, she returned home with a smile, chattering about her day, unaware of my growing coldness or perhaps attributing it to external stresses. Finally, late one Thursday evening, Tom's number flashed on my screen. Mr. Reynolds, we need to meet. I have something for you, his voice was grave, hinting at the success of his surveillance. We agreed to meet in a dimly lit parking lot, an odd choice, but appropriate for the nature of our discussion. Tom arrived first, his car idling in the shadows. I pulled up beside him, my heart hammering in anticipation. Handing me a manila envelope, Tom spoke. I followed her to a hotel downtown on 3 separate occasions. Met with the same man each time. Here are the photos and a USB with video footage. I opened the envelope under the faint light of the street lamp. The photos showed Elena and a man, their intimacy undeniable, their actions a visual stab to my heart. This is good work, Tom, I managed to say, though each word felt like a shard of glass in my throat. Do you need anything else? Tom asked, ready to delve deeper if I wanted. No. This should be enough, for now, I replied, my mind racing with the implications of the evidence in my hands. Driving home, the weight of the envelope in the passenger seat was palpable. The house was dark when I arrived, Elena already in bed. I sat in the living room, the envelope in front of me, debating my next move. It was late when I finally made my decision. I wouldn't confront her, not yet. This evidence was a tool, a means to a more satisfying end. The following day, I contacted a lawyer, a necessity for the coming storm. I outlined the evidence without revealing my ultimate plan, ensuring that all legal aspects were covered. Mr. Reynolds, with this evidence, you have a strong case for divorce on grounds of infidelity. It could influence the division of assets and alimony, the lawyer explained, his words clinical, detached from the emotional volcano I was living. I understand, but I'm not ready to file just yet. "I have other plans," I said, a cryptic statement that made the lawyer raise an eyebrow, but he nodded in acknowledgement of my autonomy in the matter. With my chess pieces in place, I spent the next several days observing Elena's crumbling facade, her unawareness of the impending cataclysm. Each smile, each touch, now had a countdown attached to it, known only to me. The revenge was set, its delivery cold and calculated. The final act was ready to begin, and it would be my masterpiece, crafted from betrayal and honed by the sharp edge of retribution. As autumn rolled in, bringing with it a chill that seemed to mirror the coldness in my heart, I prepared for the final act of my carefully orchestrated revenge. My interactions with Elena remained superficial, our conversations a mere echo of the warmth we once shared. She remained unaware of the storm brewing just beneath the surface of my calm demeanor. One evening, as we sat across from each other at dinner, I finally set my plan into motion. "Elena, there's a charity gala next week," I began, watching her face light up with interest. "I think it would be a great opportunity for us to network and maybe rekindle some old connections." She nodded enthusiastically. "That sounds wonderful, Jack. It's been so long since we've done something like that together." "Yes," I replied, the word laced with hidden meaning. "It's time we face some things together." The night of the gala arrived, and we walked into the grand ballroom, a picture-perfect couple. Little did she know that the guests included not just philanthropists and moguls, but key figures from her secret life, carefully invited by me. As we mingled, I guided her through the crowd, each step calculated. Approaching our boss and his wife, I steered the conversation towards recent acquisitions, a topic I knew would pique his interest. As the conversation deepened, Alex, who was also in on my plan, joined us with a knowing look in his eye. "And speaking of unique finds, Jack tells me Elena has recently acquired a rather exclusive piece of jewelry," Alex chimed in, his gaze sharp as he nodded towards her necklace. Our boss's wife, previously engaged in conversation with another guest, turned her attention to Elena, her interest clearly piqued. "Oh? May I see?" Elena, oblivious to the trap being set, proudly showed off her necklace, the pendant gleaming under the ballroom lights. "It's a limited edition," she boasted, unwittingly sealing her fate. Our boss's expression darkened as he recognized the design. "That's quite the coincidence," he said, his voice cold, "seeing as I bought a very similar piece for someone very special. Isn't that right, Alex?" The room seemed to still, all eyes on us. Alex nodded, taking out his phone to show a photo of the necklace he'd supposedly bought for our boss's mistress, the same one around Elena's neck. The realization dawned on Elena's face as she turned to me, betrayal written all over her expression. "Jack, what's happening?" Before she could react further, I spoke up, my voice resolute and loud enough for everyone to hear. "Elena has been unfaithful. Not just to me, but to all of us who trusted her." I turned to our boss. "I believe you too were deceived. This necklace," I gestured to Elena's neck, "was never meant for her." Gasps filled the room as the crowd digested the drama unfolding before them. Elena's face crumbled, her reputation disintegrating before her eyes. She looked at me, her eyes searching for any sign of the man she knew, but found none. "I don't understand, Jack," she stammered, her voice breaking. "Why here? Why like this?" "Because betrayal should be answered in kind," I replied coldly. "You broke our vows, and now, I've broken you." Humiliated and utterly defeated, Elena fled the room, her sobs echoing off the opulent walls. The last sight I had of her was her retreating back as she disappeared into the night, her life as she knew it shattered. In the aftermath, our divorce proceedings were swift. Elena made no claim on our assets or our life together, perhaps too broken to fight. She moved away, and I never saw her again. The taste of revenge was bitter, and the victory hollow. Our mutual hatred of betrayal had burned everything we once had to the ground. As I stood alone in the empty house we once shared, the silence a stark reminder of my actions, I realized that my insidious revenge had not only broken Elena, it had broken me too. The cost of betrayal, it turned out, was not just the loss of the person you loved, but the loss of the person you once were.